Travis, thanks so much for being here with us. We're super happy to have you and excited to have you here with Y Media in these inspirational nights that we are opening up here today with you. You have been working in the Silicon Valley space for like 20 years, your entire professional life, and very recently into the personal AI space, which is something that interests us big time. So I'd like to hear from you, from your experience as co-founder of Akin and CTO of Akin, how you see personal AI evolving in the coming years.
Wonderful. Thank you for letting me be here. Madrid is beautiful. Barcelona is like my favorite city in the world, and so it's a real pleasure to be able to join you. I got involved with AI because it's literally going to shape the lives of the world's future. We will all have an AI that's attached to us or that helps us to run our lives, that helps us to be more relaxed, more organized, that will help us take care of the things that just aren't that much fun today, or that we don't love to do, or maybe even the things that we don't feel like qualified to do, like high fashion, for example. And if that's really going to be a driving force of the future, I had to be involved. There was no other way for it. In the late 90s, I was involved in the internet. In the late 2000s, it was mobile. And in the early 2010s, it was blockchain. And now AI is clearly the most important technology of the future. And so I have to be here.
That's awesome. I know how much interested you are in people, making people's life better and having like a purpose in life of definitely developing technologies that can have an impact in people. Why do you see personal AI being that great driver of that improvement in people's life in the future? Why do you think personal AI is the next big thing in terms of improving people's life?
I actually think that most people in Silicon Valley really want to improve the future. They have a love for humanity. And sometimes the technologies can have complex effects and things go wrong, but nobody ever starts with that in mind. For me, I know that we have the opportunity to create the future that we want to. And this is such a powerful technology that we should try to create the future that we want to live in and not just let it happen to us, because people that let things happen to them don't have a say in their lives. People that try to shape their future or are very intentional about their future have an opportunity to be happier and healthier with better connections to the world. And I see that possibility with personal AI. It is right there and we just have to grab it.
So when you think about the future, are we talking about how many years? Is something that will happen in the next year, 2, 5, 10? When do you think like a big impact in the development of AI we'll see the streets? When do you think that will happen?
Well, we're already seeing it. 50% of households in America have a smart speaker sitting on the counter. There's over 1 billion phones right now that have Google Assistant built right in. These things are more utilitarian today than they are, they're very useful, but we don't have relationships with them. All of the indicators point to these technologies converging that will truly give us a relationship with our technology in the near future. And it's happening fast. And I mean, I would guess that within 5 years, you have a companion that is digital. You consider it your friend. It knows as much or more about you as you do, but you love to be with it. And you wouldn't give it up any more than you would give up your cell phone today, because it helps you live your life in a much better, easier, and more efficient way.
But that frightens people. People, when they think about oh my God, I'm gonna have this friend that it's virtual and it's gonna know everything about me, even more than myself. How would you convince someone that has this barrier in terms of feeling that a digital companion maybe one day their best friend or the best assistant? What would you explain to those people so that they understand how this is going to help them and not be like a spy or a negative influence?
Well, first off, I would say that this vision of the world requires a tremendous amount of trust. And we have these new technologies and these new business models that can enable that kind of trust. Things like cryptography, and as it relates to blockchain and identity, and the ways that we can anonymize data will be required for this vision to come true. Today's environment of data breaches and Facebook leaking data or even just giving away too much data, they need to end before the future of personal AI can actually arrive. If those things don't catch up to each other, then we'll still have very smart technology, and it will probably still improve our lives, but the vision of a digital friend in the future may materialize slightly differently.
So Travis, I know how bullish you are about privacy, and that I know it's a subject that it really matters to you. How then do you see the balance between protecting privacy and people's personal information, and fitting all these technologies with enough data that allows us to actually get to that point that personal AI can know you better than yourself? How can you find a right balance there?
There are initiatives like decentralized identity and vendor relationship management that say human data, personal data, is owned by me. It shouldn't be owned by a company. This is almost a right similar to democracy or freedom. And it should be legislated in such a way that people should be responsible for what data that they give to others in the world. And this is and all of the technology exists today for this to happen, but it's just not very culturally accepted yet. And so I kind of go to the end game of saying, well, if humans owned their own data and they had the tools available to say what that they would allow other vendors to know about them, then we can enable this future. This way you can have your own self-sovereign identity that knows everything about you, but you're able to interface with people where they can only access what you want them to access.